The morning sun had barely climbed over the glass towers of Raventon City when a black luxury sedan rolled into Malik Voss's repair shop with smoke coughing from its hood like a wounded animal. The driver's door opened, and a woman in a cream-colored suit stepped out, trembling so badly she could barely hold her phone. Everyone in the shop recognized her face from business magazines and billboards. Seraphina Vale, the youngest CEO of Vale Meridian Group, a woman people called untouchable, fearless, and cold as winter steel, stood beside her broken car with tears in her eyes. But it was not the engine that changed Malik's life that day. It was what he found hidden beneath the passenger seat after she disappeared. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when ordinary people choose to care, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lifeline Diaries. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them most. Malik Voss had spent 22 years fixing cars in a narrow repair shop squeezed between a bakery and an old laundromat on Briar Avenue. His hands were rough, his back ached when it rained, and his name was not written on any building taller than one floor, but people trusted him. He knew the sound of a failing belt from half a block away. He knew when customers were lying about the strange noise they ignored for months. And he knew when someone was carrying pain too heavy for words. Seraphina Vale was exactly that kind of person. She handed him the keys without meeting his eyes and said only that she would return later. Her voice was polished, but cracked at the edges. Malik asked if she needed a ride somewhere, but she shook her head and walked away into the bright daylight, not toward the main road where drivers waited, but down the quieter street where old maple trees threw shadows over the sidewalk. For a moment, Malik watched her go. Something about the way she moved reminded him of a person leaving more than a car behind. The sedan sat in the garage like a secret. It was expensive, spotless, and almost too perfect, except for the burned smell rising from the hood. Malik began his work with the usual patience, checking the engine, cooling system, and wiring. The damage was serious but reparable. Yet as he leaned into the passenger side to retrieve a fallen inspection light, his fingers brushed against something tucked beneath the seat. It was a small cloth pouch, faded blue, tied with a white ribbon. Malik almost pushed it back. He was not a man who touched what did not belong to him. But the pouch had slipped open, and a folded photograph had fallen out. In it, Seraphina Vale was not the powerful CEO from the magazines. She was younger, sitting on the steps of a small house beside a little boy with messy curls and a gap-toothed smile. Both of them held paper kites. On the back, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "To my Sarah, when the sky feels too heavy, remember we can still fly. Nico." There was more inside. A hospital bracelet. A child's drawing of a red car. A letter so worn that the folds had nearly torn apart. Malik's chest tightened as he read just enough to understand. Nico had been her little brother. He had been sick. And somehow, years ago, a mechanic named Arlen Voss, Malik's own father, had once helped them when they had nowhere else to go. The past rushed back like a storm. Malik remembered his father coming home late one night with oil on his shirt and sadness in his eyes. He remembered hearing about a young girl and her brother stranded outside the city, their mother gone, their money nearly finished, their car dead on the roadside. Arlen had repaired it for free, then slipped cash into the glove box. Malik had been too young to care then. He cared now. By noon, Seraphina had not returned. By 2, her assistant called the shop in a panic, asking whether Ms. Vale was there. By 4, Malik knew something was wrong. He found her after closing, not through money or influence, but through memory. The old address in the photograph still existed on the edge of Raventon, a small weather-beaten house near a field where children once flew kites. Seraphina was sitting on the porch in the daylight that had softened toward evening, her cream suit wrinkled, her hair loose, her face empty from crying. Malik stood at the gate and gently told her he had found the pouch. At first, she looked frightened. Then ashamed. Then broken. She told him she had not meant to leave it. That morning, she had been driving to sign papers that would close several small businesses on Briar Avenue, including his shop. Vale Meridian planned to build a luxury retail complex there. She had told herself it was only business. Progress. Numbers on a page. But then her car broke down in front of his garage, and when she saw the name Voss painted above the door, the life she had buried came back all at once. Her brother Nico had died at 12. Before he passed, he made her promise that when she became powerful, she would help people who were frightened the way they had been. But power had changed shape in her hands. It became meetings, pressure, investors, headlines, and silence. She built towers while forgetting the porch where she once promised a dying boy she would build shelters. Malik did not accuse her. That hurt her more than anger would have. He sat on the porch steps a careful distance away and told her about his father, who had died years earlier, believing small acts mattered even when nobody remembered them. Seraphina pressed the photograph to her chest as if it were the only thing holding her together. She said she was tired of being admired by strangers and unknown to herself. She said the company board wanted the Briar Avenue project signed by sunrise. If she refused, they could remove her. If she signed, she would destroy the last street that still carried her brother's memory. The next morning arrived bright and merciless. Sunlight flashed against the windows of Vale Meridian's headquarters as executives gathered around a polished table high above the city. Seraphina walked in wearing the same cream suit, now cleaned but somehow more human. Malik waited downstairs beside the repaired sedan, unsure why she had asked him to come. In his pocket was the old photograph. An hour passed. Then another. When Seraphina finally came down, her face was pale, but her eyes were clear. She had refused to sign. Not only that, she had announced a new foundation in Nico's name, funded by selling her personal shares. The Briar Avenue development was cancelled. The small businesses would stay. The old laundromat would become a community wash center 2 nights a week for families in need. The bakery would provide meals. Malik's garage would train young people aging out of foster care, teaching them a skill no one could take away. She had lost control of the boardroom, but she had found control of herself. News spread fast. Some called her foolish. Some called it a publicity stunt. But Malik saw her every Saturday after that, not in magazine suits, but in jeans, helping paint walls, carrying boxes, listening to people whose names would never appear in investor reports. At first, the neighborhood watched her with suspicion. Slowly, they watched with respect. Then with affection. Months later, on a clear daytime afternoon, the first class of apprentices gathered inside Voss Auto Works. Sunlight poured through the open garage doors. A boy named Tavian, quiet and sharp-eyed, held a wrench like it was a key to a future he had never expected. Seraphina stood near the back, holding Nico's old drawing of the red car. Malik saw tears in her eyes again, but this time they did not look like defeat. They looked like return. Near the end of the ceremony, Malik unveiled a small wooden sign above the workbench. It read, "When the sky feels too heavy, we can still fly." Seraphina covered her mouth and wept. Not the silent, controlled tears of a CEO protecting her image, but the deep tears of a sister who had finally kept her promise. And Malik understood something his father had known all along. A car can break down in the middle of a road. A life can break down in the middle of success. A heart can stall beneath the weight of regret. But sometimes, with patience, honesty, and one person willing to look beneath the surface, even what seems abandoned can be repaired. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Lifeline Diaries so more stories of kindness and second chances can reach the world. Special request, merit we can still fly if you believe one act of kindness can change a life. Seraphina never became the cold woman people once praised again. She became something braver. She became someone who remembered. And every time a struggling young person fixed their first engine beneath the warm daylight of Briar Avenue, Malik would glance at the photograph on the wall and smile, knowing that a broken car had not just brought a CEO to his shop. It had brought a lost promise home.